Hello everybody, I'm Henry Lee, blueheronarts.com. Now I would like to share with you the process of design and carving a Qi Baishi style seal for artist Ondrej, I hope I pronounced it correctly, Ondrej Caska. Caska is the last name that we're going to translate into Chinese, so I'll refer him from now on as Caska, Mr. Caska. Thanks for commissioning of doing this seal, and I hope you also like to see how I carve it. I have some printouts here with some design ideas. The style of seal engraving by Qi Baishi that Mr. Caska likes. He thinks this is almost like a cubism or abstract art in Western contemporary art. This seal, for example, is Baishi, white stone. You can see this is the actual seal and this is the imprint. The space used is very artistic. You can see the contrast between different negative space. And here are some more examples by Qi Baishi in his various age, from the 70-year-old to older. So this is typical that he would make a strong contrast between the sparse and the dense. The sparse part can run with a horse in Chinese seal engraving theory, and the dense part is so dense there's no space for a needle to insert. That's the idea. So we will imitate the design idea and some also the cutting techniques later on. So first we design the seal in Qi Baishi style. These two seals I designed because I'm not Qi Baishi, so I'm quite conservative. I did it with a computer mouse on the computer screen, and in a handwriting style. You can see the negative, positive and negative. And Mr. Caska is very talented. It's so I'm so amazed that he did some modification with his understanding of the Qi Baishi, and he made this modified examples that he would like to have on his signature or name seal. And you can see this more strong in space use in terms of art, painting. Even though he doesn't read Chinese at all, he made the design so much better, I'll say, than my original conservative design. And I would consider this as his signature seal, almost like his handwriting in Qi Baishi style. And the best part is it's still readable in Chinese, so I'm very glad to adopt one of his favorite, which is this one, to carve on the stone. And here are some coupons, I will call it. I made based on his design. He did it also in Photoshop on the computer, and I just take a piece of that to transfer on the stone like this, and with a liquid called the acetone nail polish remover. I showed this process on my other videos, so we'll omit that part. So now I'm ready to carve with a mirror image on the stone. So this would be a positive carving, so we'd have to cut out the background. You can see there empty spaces, as we saw in Qi Baishi examples. So there are a lot of flooring work. We'll start from the margin, so you get a feel of the stone first. You can see some of the strokes merged with the frame, which is very typical in Qi Baishi seal design. So the squeeze, take advantage of the space, so merge the stroke with the margin, the edge, while leaving more emptiness or negative space to create this dramatic effect between white and black, or red and white. So basically, I'll carve two sides, both sides of the stroke, and then leave the background for later scooping. Don't have to be very deep, but there's a slope from the edge of the stroke to the background. So it's not a straight cut. Most of my students makes like straight cut is not easy to maintain the stroke. It will be chipped very easily. So I cut with an angle, the small angle, the outside is smoother, touch the line, while the other side chipping naturally. Qi Baishi has a very powerful hand or wrist. He's a carpenter, so he cut very aggressively with a knife, almost like an axe cut. But we try to simulate that, but with more of controlled cut, I would say, to make the effect as if it's done with one stroke, but you may modify little by little to create that, because we all have a design which is very natural, like signature from Mr. Caska. I think that's the pronunciation. So in Chinese, Caska, this first character is Cha, the Chinese surname. These lines are very thin, so the result might be heavier than the design, which is very normal, because sometimes we're not possible to reproduce the effect on the computer. The stone is different. The actual carving always turn out a little more stony, the stony are with the texture of the stone. There might be some chipping, which is fine. So we don't really try to make it very, too smooth. We try to create the antique look. So some chipping, some broken lines are very natural to stone carving. So it's not possible to carve something really require accuracy. I had one client recently contact me about carving a 3D barcode, like those you can scan with iPhone. That's something I cannot do, because that kind of pixel accurate carving is not possible with this primitive tools. You have to use a laser-guided machine or something, but the laser cutter cannot do anything with natural stone. The temperature of laser engraver can only cut plastics or some wood or horn maybe, but not this natural stone, because they are formed very high temperature, like a mechanical formation in the early age of the Earth. So that without that we cannot really reproduce the 3D barcode kind of. But for this signature, I can make it look very similar and natural to the original design. My knife actually waves just like a brush, wheeled with press and the lifting movement, not even, so the line is not that mechanical, it's more organic. This stone is very nice, called Qi indigo stone. It has patterns of indigo on it. To cut out the background, you can do parallel cutting side by side, or you can use the angle of the knife in wider angle to cut out like that. You use a lot of muscle. I feel my arm, my muscle at work. And you can use smaller knife to do the details, but I prefer to use the same knife to keep the consistency of strokes. It's more stable, believe it or not, to use a larger knife to cut straight lines. Okay, now I'm going to work on the margin. We can use a bigger knife for knocking. Okay, the carving is almost done, and now I'm going to make a stamp to see how it look like. The initial stamp or imprint is always very curious to see. Sometimes it's very different from the design, sometimes very close. This is the original design, and this is the real stone. Oh, I like that little stroke. Let me see if it's. That's it. I think basically we can adjust a little bit the width of the stroke if needed. But I like the stronger, the thicker line on this part, which matches the margin better than the original. It's kind of too weak. I like this dot, somehow shows some spontaneity, like a drop of ink. I hope Caska will love it, and let me make a official imprint. In my album, these are the recent seals I did in the workshop. Alicia. Okay. You don't have to press that hard on this kind of positive carving. If you want to keep the line fine and clean, just press evenly, lightly, evenly. You can wave a little bit, make sure the corners and the margins are inked, stamped. And then lift it straight up. That's a very clean copy. So that extra dots on the bottom will disappear if you press lighter. So every print actually can make a difference. I really like this design, very spontaneous and very Qi Baishi compared to Qi Baishi or put Qi Baishi signature seal. So even for someone who do not understand Chinese, can understand the abstract aesthetic value of this form of seal engraving art. That's amazing. So this is a universal language of beauty and design. So if you are interested, you can also design yours, and I'll give you some basic design that you can play with if you are talented like Caska. I'm going to make another copy for Caska quickly. Press evenly and lift. That's a light, too light. Maybe you can ink more and press a little more to get it more solid. But that's also a kind of style. Depends on your preference. Okay. Finally, I'd like to thank Caska again for your commissioning of doing this special carving, seal carving project, and I really appreciate your help in making the design in Qi Baishi style. And hope everybody on YouTube also enjoyed the process. If you need a name seal or mood seal, please go to brocadearts.com to place your order. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.